One way you can consistently create content on Instagram and YouTube with DaVinci Resolve is to use template projects. Open up the project manager, select your template project without opening it, Command C, then Command V to copy and paste, rename your newly created project, and hopefully you've saved yourself some time. Curious about what's in my template project? Stay tuned. One of the difficult things about starting YouTube is all of the gurus and all of the talking heads say to be consistent. One way that you can be consistent is to create processes and workflows that make it easier for you to make it to that next step. That's what this video is about. That's what this series of videos is about, is making sure that you don't have to think about the next step because it's already laid out. It's paint by numbers. Let's get started. First up, let's create bins. Shift Command in order to create a new bin. We will use the content bin to hold all of our bins, and the sub-bins will be subtitles, audio, and sequences. Our audio bin will have VO for voiceover, DX for dialogue, MX for music, SFX for sound effects, Foley, and Atmo for atmosphere or natural sound. Our sequences bin will hold BTS, B-roll, topics, characters, interviews, screencasts, scenes, and verite. Feel free to adjust this and adapt this to whatever your needs are. Next up, let's create some smart bins. Smart bins help us to filter the content, especially if you're anything like me, you will misplace things in a heartbeat. It happens every time. I don't care how careful I am. The first bin that I create is the unused media bin. This really is just to help me identify when I'm shooting too much and when I'm getting it just right. My goal is to have no unused media, but not just throw everything into my edit just because I have it. It should be intentional. If I have too much, then I need to think about more about what it is that I'm shooting. Let's create the audio bin. We use this in order for me to be able to quickly find any music, sound effects, clips from my phone, which happens a lot, or if I need reference audio from some other content that I'm using as a source or citing as a source, then I can pull it and identify it here. And there I'm just looking for WAV files and MP3. Those are the only two audio files that I deal with. If it is something other than that, I will typically convert it over into a WAV file or MP3, usually a WAV file. Finally, the fun part, timelines. Self-time, I create a timeline for each of my types of content. IG Story, 1080 by 1920. IG Portrait, 1080 by 1350. IG Square, 1080 by 1080. FHD or Full HD, which is my 1920 by 1080. 4K, actually UHD, which is 3840 by 2160. And then what I call hero content. I have extra wide screens. I really appreciate when a creator uses all of that real estate. It just blows me away, and it is something a particular creator on YouTube, Creative North, Johnny van Wallstrom, he's Swedish. I'm sorry if I missed the pronunciation of the name, but his content, usually when he does his hero content, actually most of his content, I think all of his content, fills up my entire screen, and every time I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. It's so awesome. And for that hero content, I am going to use, if it's FHD or because disk space, 2560 by 1080. If I'm going for that 4K widescreen, which I don't know anybody who has that monitor. That's a lie. I do know somebody who has that monitor. 5040 by 2160. And these are 21:9 ratios that I'm aiming for here. Each of these timelines will have 6 video tracks and 12 audio tracks. That just gives me enough room to play with all of my edits and make sure that I can shift and adjust whenever I need without having to create any new tracks. Now, I also label my tracks. And this is based off of this guy edits and what I've been able to take away from him. Now, this guy edits is a believer in building your edits. So you select what it is that you're going to put on your timeline instead of dumping everything on the timeline and just kind of going like Edward Scissorhands, just chopping stuff away. Instead, you select what goes onto your edit. You're very careful about selecting what is okay and may make it into the edit. What is good, much more likely to make it into the edit than the okay stuff. Or selecting your gold items. These are the things that are definitely going to make it into the edit. I also have a track for adjustment tracks. So if I need to make any adjustment layers, then that is a track in and of itself. I have a MoGraph or motion graphics, think titles, lower thirds, bumpers or stingers for introductions into the video. Then I have an overlay. So if I have, again, those images that I mentioned earlier, then there's a track for that as well. For my audio tracks, I have the DX or the dialogue tracks to match for OK, good, and gold, but I also have voiceover, Atmo, MX for music, SFX again for sound effects, and everything under the music track is just additional sound effects tracks. If I have additional voiceover or additional music that is going into my audio mix, that's okay. I can just use those extra sound effects tracks, especially if they're not already in use. And once all of that is done, then I have a template project. I can add all types of features to this template project, and then as new projects are created or as I learn new things, I can adapt this template project, and every project after that gets that new learning. It is a great way to accelerate your workflow and your process. I really hope this helps you. If it does, my day is made. Thank you for taking the time for watching this video. That's it. I'm done.